From being one of the most hyped prospects in NBA history to questions over his ability to handle the pressure, here's how Victor Wembanyama is about to change everything. The NBA hasn't seen a talent this hyped in 2 decades. LeBron James was the last player to get the kind of attention that Wemby's getting. And if he ends up being even half the player that Bron became, then we're in for a treat. King James transformed the NBA completely when he entered the league back in 2003. No one had seen an individual quality of that order, a player who could play every single position, and not just play it, be the best at it. The man won a championship playing at point guard, and it does not get crazier than that. The thing is, you can expect something similar to happen when Wemby takes his first strides in the league, because he's got that X factor too. Imagine making magazine covers right after high school. That's the level of pressure James had to live with, and Wembanyama's been dealing with similar tension throughout his teenage years. He can't hide his height, and because of social media, he's become a sensation around the world, before even playing an NBA game. So when Wembanyama hits your TV screens in the 2023-24 season, you best believe he's going to change everything. Is the NBA prepared for what Victor's bringing to the NBA? Do they have an answer to the Wemby problem? I'm sure we'll get answers to these questions in due time, but what if there isn't an answer? There hasn't been a solution to countering LeBron. There wasn't one for Kevin Durant, and well, Steph Curry was a completely different problem altogether. Wembanyama is more of the same, and I can't help but feel the NBA doesn't have the facilities to handle him. Look, with every other unicorn that made it to the NBA, there was some sort of comparison with players in history. The only exception was KD, to an extent, because I'm not sure anyone in the league in the past has handles like KD. The feeling's the same with Wembanyama. In fact, KD might be the closest player we've seen in the NBA to Victor. And please do not entertain any Kristaps Porzingis comparisons. I rate the Latvian a lot more than some, but he's nowhere near Wembanyama stylistically. For the sake of explaining my point, I'll use the example of Porzingis, because when he's feeling it, there aren't many defenders that can live with him. Victor is just as tall, with the potential to grow even more, and then you factor in his ability to dribble with the ball like point guards do. It doesn't make sense for someone that tall to do the things that he does. Like Porzingis and Durant, Wemby's not afraid to let a couple fly from beyond the arc, and that should scare the NBA. More importantly, the league hasn't learned how to live with tall players. That's why KD in full swing is a sight to behold. However, remember how Luka Doncic said the EuroLeague is tougher to score in than the NBA? He's not wrong. NBA players don't know how to defend as a whole, especially when it comes to tall unicorns like Wembanyama, who's going to be a handful from the very first minute. So I expect Wembanyama to have an impact similar to Shaq once he settles into the league. Maybe the NBA will introduce some rules to make sure Wembanyama isn't as dominant as coaches and players expect him to be. At the same time, like Giannis Antetokounmpo noticed, there's a likelihood that drafting teams will also be on the lookout for the next unicorn in NBA drafts. The Greek Freak believes it'll be super common to have players like Wembanyama around by 2040, because most teams would have brought in tall stars in search of the next best thing. This is only possible if Wemby realizes his true potential, because if he doesn't, then he'd become another Porzingis, which by all means is a very decent fallback option for someone as talented as Victor. But I don't think there's a reality in which the young Frenchman fails as talent. He's too talented, smart, and focused to end up failing. But the biggest ace up his sleeve isn't his talent or his willingness to grow as a player. It's the fact that he's got the greatest coach in NBA history at his disposal. Yep, Pop signed a new deal with the San Antonio Spurs, and he ain't going anywhere. That was Wemby's biggest demand when he got drafted by San Antonio. And Greg Popovich was never going to let go of such an opportunity anyway. He's built dynasty after dynasty with the Spurs, creating some of the most successful teams the NBA has ever seen. And there's a chance he creates another one before retiring. Victor will be the centerpiece of Pop's latest artwork, and that increases the youngsters' chances of succeeding in the NBA as well. Talent alone doesn't cut it at this level. You need to have the right mentality, along with a coaching team that has the vision to take you places. Popovich has curated some of the biggest names in the NBA, like Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, and so many more. Wembanyama might just be the most talented of the bunch, and the Spurs legend will have a fun time getting the best out of him. It's also great for Wemby, because managing expectations at this level isn't easy. There will be so much pressure from the media, and Pops will make things considerably easier for the #1 pick, guiding him through a tough first year. Popovich staying around also means that the franchise won't be making stupid decisions, like completely abandoning their development plan for a win-now approach. These things will end up giving Wembanyama the best chance of making a name for himself. But he was already hailed as a league-altering talent before he even joined the NBA. Back in 2022, Victor made his debut in the US, playing in a couple of friendlies against the G League Ignite. This was his first audition in front of the US audience, and he impressed big time, outplaying Scoot Henderson, the third best talent of his draft class. For NBA franchises, that was all they needed to see from Wembanyama, and analysts predicted tanking like the NBA has never seen before. They weren't wrong. The Mavericks were fined for their poorly concealed efforts at tanking, while the Trailblazers got so desperate they've potentially lost the biggest legend of their franchise. The usual suspects, like the Houston Rockets, San Antonio Spurs, Charlotte Hornets, and the Detroit Pistons, lost game after game to get the worst record and have a chance at landing that #1 pick. Eventually, the Spurs' hard work paid off and they got Victor. But that's the kind of impact he's already had. Teams were adopting desperate measures just to get into the lottery with a chance. And that's honestly crazy. Talking about crazy, given the frenzy the NBA's in with Vic, can you imagine what happens if he doesn't come good on all those expectations? All the help in the world doesn't guarantee success. And that's what the Spurs fans are so worried about. As good as Wemby is, there's no guarantee he turns into a sure-shot success. And that's very concerning for everyone involved. The expectations around the Frenchman are greater than ever before. Anything less than Hall of Fame is a failure. Anything less than Rookie of the Year is a failure. Anything less than multiple NBA championships and a dozen All-Star appearances is a failure. LeBron is the only player in NBA history to be treated with such expectations, and he came out exceeding them. Others have faltered under far less. And that's why the odds are stacked against Victor. Does he have the composure to handle the pressure? And can he live with mainstream media and social media trying to tear him down? No one doubts the talent he has. We've all seen that attempted three-pointer and the chase-down dunk to complete the move. I don't need another reminder of how good his handles are. And the Spurs fans have seen all footage available on the internet of their young prodigy. The only question mark here is, can Wembanyama handle the pressure? Because regardless of the outcome, he's about to change everything. His start to NBA life hasn't been great. That debut performance at the 2023 Summer League was cheeks. But his reaction to that average display was very interesting. Victor revealed he didn't know what he was doing and expects the coming games to be different. If that's how he goes about his business, then under an honest coach like Popovich, the sky really is the limit. But if he can't handle the pressure and he ends up cracking under it, then Wemby is set to be the biggest disappointment in NBA history and will be regarded as a draft bust throughout his career, even if he actually surpasses other #1 picks. So, from questions over his ability to handle the pressure to being one of the most hyped prospects in NBA history, this is why Victor Wembanyama is about to change everything.